well, we can't replace him. There's no one out there that we would replace him with. But I was just going to say, come back to the fact that, as you say, the squad's a bit top heavy and the lack of a good defensive midfielder possibly. I think you saw that in the Man U game yesterday, and I know we'll come to that, but Daley Blind playing in that role when there's been so much talk about how is Louis van Gaal going to play all these brilliant attacking players, and when the fact that their defence was pretty dire. Again, kind of similar to Celtic in terms of the balance of the squad, but as soon as he got the key man in there, defensive mid, it changed them. They were brilliant yesterday. Possibly he needs to find that kind of role. Whoever's going to fill it, if he can sort that, maybe the rest will click into place to a certain extent.
Could that be Virgil? Now I know it's hard to take. Obviously, we don't have a lot of centre halves, but could Virgil play that role? He knows how to break up play. He's good at coming forward with the ball. Thoughts?
We're too light at the back to move him there. I think Beaton would probably be a better fit. I think he's looked quite steady at times in that role, sitting and protecting the defence.
Can be a rash in the tackle occasionally.
He's not perfect. He's still quite young. I think he's still rough around the edges, but he looks as if he could develop there. I was actually going to speak to Christian about Johansson, and I think so far this season at times he's looked a bit overawed. Sometimes he's looked overrun. Now in the first half when he was playing with Brown, I don't know if you've seen the game, I thought he was good. I thought with Brown next to him, Brown did a lot of running and Johansson was very good. When Brown went off, he looked absolutely gubbed because it was his first game back and they brought Kyle on. I thought Johansson, he looked a bit lost again until Beaton came on and that gave more shape. Just wanted to know what your thoughts on Johansson this season have been.
Yeah, he's had a strange season. I think some games he's been really, really good, and other games he has been overawed as well. So it's I think it's as a good theory and as a good analysis. Just the other week against Italy, I don't know saw the game. I thought he was Norway's best against Italy, and he was doing those kind of things he is good at doing. I think you're right. I think a presence beside him, where he can, he'll fit in the system and he'll run and he'll press, but I think you get the best out of him by sitting somebody a bit deeper beside him as well. And I think the thing about Van Dijk as well, he can do a lot of the defensive midfielder playmaking stuff from centre half as well. So if you have somebody that does the dirty work, he can take the ball out and play it. If you have somebody who keeps half an eye on the spaces he's leaving as well, so you could do it like that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to find out what the final kind of midfield is going to be, because he has kind of went through Kyle and Beaton and Brown's back now, Mulgrew's been in there, Johansson's definitely part of the plans. It's going to be interesting to see who he's actually going to settle on and really how we go on from there. I think he really is still trying to really look at what he's got and how they'll actually gel together.
Well, who drops out of that team when Mulgrew's fit again?
Mulgrew.
Mulgrew doesn't come in. I think you mentioned Johansson against Italy. He was possibly man of the match, certainly for Norway anyway. He did a lot of good work.
Not a strong field, but...
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I agree with you that was it the Maribor away game? He was excellent. He was really, really good. Maribor at home game was the worst I've ever seen him play.
I really think the occasion got to him on the night.
Personal mistakes. I've never seen him that many silly passing and all that.
About 4 or 5 just balls straight to the opposition.
When the crowd are... The Celtic crowd are bad at times. Obviously, the game was really important. It was tense. Every small mistake's magnified, and I thought for Johansson that got to him on the night. Which I mean, last season, even this season, at times he's looked really good. I really like him as a player, but I did think that was a big game, and the occasion got to him a little. I don't know if that's fair or not.
I think that's fair. I think that... Sorry, Louis.
It wasn't on that. It's another point.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I agree. I think that, again, this is where maybe the old word of experience comes into it. A lot of these players, Denayer, Johansson, haven't played, pressure. It's not even necessarily the standard of the football, it's the pressure. That's the thing about playing at Celtic. It's not always about how good the opposition are, it's what the fans' expectancy level is. And so when you're in that midfield, you're playing a team you're expected to win, and you give one ball away, the crowd get on your back, you're done. Your confidence completely zaps out of you, and that's a big thing you have to deal with.
I think that's maybe a good point with regards to kind of Europe as well, because if we had got into Champions League, and obviously I wish we did, but we could have been on the end of a few serious hidings. You know what I mean? The team isn't to that standard yet, whereas the Europa League, we're not going to be playing teams of that standard, but they will be of a standard, and there will be a bit of a sense of occasion. It's a chance for some of the younger guys in the team to actually see what European football's about and the different sort of style of play. It's obviously totally different to the week-to-week in Scotland, and it's actually a great opportunity to get games together at that kind of level and standard and try and sort of gel as a team, and then hopefully next season actually be a bit of the finished product, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Where you go?
I was just going to say, I know I'd said there about when Mulgrew's fit again, who drops out of the team, only because we've been so used to under Neil Lennon, Mulgrew being a favourite, and none of us are particularly fans of him. I don't think any of us would have him in our team.
Or squad.
Or squad, yes.
Or club. I would invite him round to the house if I seen him outside, to be honest.
But under Lennon, he was constantly kind of shoehorned into the team in some position. What do you think Ronnie Deila's approach will be to the more established players? I mean, we've already said about Commons and whether he fits into the system. How will we handle the kind of egos and the fact that there's players been there for years who might take umbrage to the fact they might be left out of the team by a new manager?
I don't think he cares, to be honest, about the egos. I think he needs to. He'll give everybody their chance and he'll judge them. I don't think he'll be overawed by, a Chris Commons or Mulgrew. And it is slightly different. I mean, to be fair, it is something he probably experienced now more than ever, because his players of Strømsgodset was a different kind of age and a different kind of their stage of their careers. But I think he would have no problem, expanding on them if needs be at all. I think a lot of that though is what happens behind the scenes as well, and that's hard to tell. Mulgrew might be a good influence on the squad. He might see him as somebody who's good to have around, but I think that the issues looks to be more around Stokes and Griffin as well, but I don't think he would have any qualms about not playing them or wanting to put them into the team at all. I
thought it was quite funny that a couple of weeks ago Deila came out and gave Griffiths the kiss of death by saying he was the best finisher at the club, a la Gordon Strachan and Derek Reardon. As we said, there's kind of reports, and whether it's true or whether it's not, that Hibs are going to try and get an emergency loan for Griffiths. He's done now, right, Chris?
I think we've said before that the only place you can play Griffiths for me is through the middle. And if with Skepovic and Guidetti at the club now, you'd think he wouldn't really have a look in with them. Deila's tried to play him wide on a few occasions, and it doesn't really work for me. So I can't see him being a first pick under Deila at all. Whether he's got a future, I think you might be right. I think his days might be numbered.
We're reading that Forrest is out for another month, so that's just...
I'm surprised by
that. Scott Brown came back. We're not going to focus too much on him, but he lasted a good, 60, 65 minutes. It was good to see him back. I'm not a huge fan of Scott Brown, but it was good to see him back. A lot of misplaced passes. We'll put that down to the fact he's just back from injury. He'll be a player that Deila will want to get back in the team. Christian?
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're playing a 4-3-3, Johansson is in there. I think Brown is in there when he's fit. I think where the difficulty is going to be is who do you put beside those two? Do you put somebody who's a bit more defensive midfielder, or do you put somebody, and you don't really have this player, somebody who plays in that tree that can do a lot of the dirty work in midfield, but also drive forward, get behind the striker.
Joe Ledley.
It's kind of like the role Jordan Henderson has in Liverpool, where he's a central midfielder, but he runs a lot more. He gets into the box a lot more now as well.
It's funny you say Henderson, because that's the kind of role that maybe Liam Henderson will take up. But as we said before, it's just that he's a bit too young. After the Aberdeen game, Deila, a few quotes here. He says he's going to need time to get the team settled. He's still quite, we should kill the game. There were spells in the first half which were very high level, and you see the potential in this team. The fitness has to get better. The way he played national teams and people are tired, but we've discussed this in the past, he's very upfront.
That's the one thing that I've really liked about him is I imagine if it didn't work out for Deila and he was a failure, I reckon towards the end he'd go, nah, I fucked it. Hands up, cheerio. I think he's very candid, he's very forthright, he doesn't dress things up. I mean, a lot of the time, over the years, Strachan did it, Lennon did it, and Neil to a certain extent as well. They told us that we'd performed really well when we'd all seen the game and it was rubbish.
Yeah.
I thought we were terrific, and that really grated on me. Deila's not like that. Deila always seems to be striving for a bit more, which I like. I definitely agree with the 2 points he made. Fitness, obviously I've touched on that, but the being clinical, that is one thing that we really need to do. The first half performance against Aberdeen, I think if we'd taken our chances, if we'd taken 3 goals, it could have been like the Dundee United game. But what happened is we weren't clinical. It gave them a chance to come back into it. When Brown went off, there was more gaps in the midfield, and they kind of took their chance and started to come into the game a bit more. I think if we hit the ground running like we did and we start converting chances, Skepovic and Guidetti, they're not fit. Once they get up to speed, that might come. But I think if we start doing that, then we could really start to see the team open up and perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think being clinical is something that will obviously get better, but at the same time, we need to kind of remember 2 of the front 3 were making their debuts.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to take that into consideration for that game.
2 of the front 3. So we're going to mention Tonev. Tonev had, it was a game that, he had a couple of nice flashes, but overall he was quite quiet in the game, but, we can't expect too much from him. But it's came out that Shea Logan has said that he made a racist remark to him. He reported it to the referee, and apparently he continued, and the Aberdeen captain, Mark Reynolds, approached the referee as well. So it's going to go up to a compliance, the compliance officer, Vincent Lunny. He's now going to decide. Dermot, what are your thoughts on it, and what happens from here?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Tonev's going to be in a lot of trouble if this has happened. And to be honest, I think it looks like it has happened. I can't really imagine a sort of fellow professional making stuff up. It's what does the club do about it, In any other job, you'd be getting your books and you'd be going for the doors straight away. I suspect it might possibly happen, especially if, as you said, that a couple of folk have heard it and they can prove it. Then Tonev's going to be in a lot of trouble.
I think if it's proven that he did say it, I wouldn't have any problem with the club cancelling his loan deal, because it's not the sort of language that you can condone in any way. This is 2014. That sort of thing should be just long ago in the past. Personally, I think I don't want to say get away with it, because maybe not the right choice of words, but if it is his word against someone else and they can't corroborate it, then I think he'll get away with it. But it's not acceptable, and you really don't want that sort of behaviour at our club.
Yeah, Christian, you're a Liverpool fan, and obviously they had the whole Suarez sort of incident. It is just going to come down to one word versus another, isn't it? Do you think he's likely to get away with it in terms of, as Chris says, like, how do you think? I mean, obviously the Suarez get quite a long sort of they get suspended for quite a while. Do you think it's the same sort of situation?
Well, the thing with the Suarez one, in the end, it was word against word. It was basically, but that they said to Suarez, what did you say? And his version differed from Evra's, and Evra's version was obviously that the panel believed that. And I think you're probably going to get something similar here. I think, especially after Suarez, and this is a good